As my colleagues have discussed, this legislation would repeal EPA's scientific determination that greenhouse gases threaten public health and welfare, known as the endangerment finding. I happen to believe that carbon emissions are a serious threat to our nation's welfare. I mean, I know that some of us might wish that the earth is flat, and I understand that different districts have different needs. I understand my colleagues are trying to protect industry in their districts. But the bottom line is, this is scientific research. This is proven. And we have decisions, and we're supposed to abide by them. Ms. Jackson, let me first of all thank you for the excellent job that you are doing. And your testimony here this morning has just affirmed in my mind how what a grasp you have of the issues, how determined you are to be on the right track, and I just want to thank you for your good work. Legislatively repealing that scientific determination directly conflicts with the consensus of climate scientists, including President Bush's EPA Administrator Stephen Johnson, and the world's most authoritative scientific organizations, which use words like indisputable and unequivocal. We talk about it killing jobs. Well, this is an interesting statistic. Since its adoption, the Clean Air Act has reduced key air pollutants by 60%, while at the same time the economy grew by over 200%. So I don't think that that shows that jobs are being killed. From 1990 to 2008 alone, the Clean Air Act reduced key air pollutants by over 40%, and the economy grew by almost 65%. These pollution reductions save lives, improve health, particularly among children and seniors. And in 2010 alone, last year, according to a peer-reviewed EPA analysis, the Clean Air Act prevented over 160,000 premature deaths, 130,000 cases of heart disease, 1.7 million asthma attacks, 86,000 hospital admissions, and millions of respiratory illnesses. So I wanted just to state that for the record. I'd like to explore with you, Madam Administrator, one question on the impacts of this legislation on the renewable fuel standard. As you know, in order to promote renewable fuels and reduce greenhouse gas pollution, Congress has required EPA to issue regulations to ensure that transportation fuels sold in the U.S. contain certain volumes of renewable fuel, advanced biofuel, cellulosic biofuel, and biomass-based diesel. The volume of each type of fuel is established annually by the EPA based in part on the availability of the fuel. Now, it appears to me that the new Section 330B1A would prevent the EPA from establishing these required annual volumes in subsequent years because it prohibits EPA from taking actions related to greenhouse gases. Do you have the same interpretation that I do of Section 330B1A? And if so, what do you think that means for the renewable fuel standard specifically and the future of biofuels generally in the United States?
Sir, as I said in my opening statement, I believe the draft bill would likely prohibit EPA from taking further actions to implement the renewable fuels program in the United States.
Well, I think that that's something that's really, really important, and we really need to think twice before we want to do such a thing. I mean, I think that nobody at this point should conclude that carbon emissions are not a serious threat to our nation. I mean, they are. And we ought to not put our heads in the sand. We ought to figure out a way where we can have cleaner air at the same time have the least impact on business and creation of jobs. But we shouldn't eliminate all these restrictions just because we are concerned about these things with jobs. We don't want our children to breathe filthy air. We don't want it to go back to the bad old days. There are countries all around the world where literally the cancer rates are up because they don't have the rules that we've adopted to prevent these things, and I don't think we want to go back to the Stone Age. So I thank you for your testimony, and I look forward to continuing working with you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
A number of people have mentioned this renewable fuels issue, and as we move forward with this legislation, we're certainly going to try to address some of the concerns that you all have brought up about it.